So when I go back into fractions, there's some similarities between fractions and decimals, but there's one really big thing that's different. Fractions can be shown lots of different ways. If I shade in this bar model, what does that show? 3/5, good. So we're going to just review stuff today. So this is 3/5. What if I did this? What could that line represent there? Yeah. 3/5. Am I still showing the same fraction? Yeah, I'm just writing it a different way. So when we do fractions, sometimes we show it this way, sometimes we show it this way. What if I wanted to show something to represent the number of squares in this set? What would I write to represent the number of squares in that set? AJ?
3/5.
This is part of a set, and there are 3/5 of them are squares. So when you're doing fractions, sometimes they're going to show you a weird little group. Sometimes they'll show you a bar. You saw on your warm-up today, they drew a rectangle with some boxes. Sometimes they'll show triangles, and I'm not going to try to do that with fifths because it's a really hard thing to do. So you're going to see fractions in a lot of different ways. I use the strips more often because I can show you guys some different things with them. What if I took this and I cut these? What does that represent now? Teddy? Yeah. Ella, help him out.
6 out of 10.
Okay, so 6 out of 10 is something we'd say if you and I are playing rock, paper, scissors, we're going to call it 6/10. Did I change the amount that's in my bar? No, what did I do? Did I multiply it by 2? Multiplying it 2 creates another bar with 3/5 in it. What did I do? I divided by 2. We are not doing this division and multiplication, but something else I did when I did that cut, the other word, I created what? I know, everybody forgets. Yeah. Thank you. This is a way I show equivalent fractions. 6/10 is equal to 3/5. They're equivalent. So equivalent fractions is something I like to start with because we use equivalent fractions in adding and subtracting a ton. You will not do a 5th grade level math fraction problem without creating an equivalent fraction for at least one of the numbers you're adding or subtracting. So equivalent fractions, I could draw these bars and I can split them up. For example, how much is that?
1/5.
1/4. Well, let's say I don't want to keep 1/4 and I want to make it into 2 smaller pieces. Now what did I make? 2/8. Good. So this original model, I said 1/4, but then all I did was add a little divider, and I have 2/8. And 1/4 is equal to 2/8. I can also do something. If I multiply 4 times 2 and 1 times 2, I can create equivalent fractions just by doubling the numerator and the denominator. A lot of kids forget the words that go along with fraction land. Your top number is your numerator. Your bottom number is the denominator. And you need to know those terms. Give me a thumbs up if this is coming back to you. Question?
Also, when I see like fractions where the numerator is, I think
Greater.
the numerator is half of the denominator. It's just a half.
Yeah. So Isaac had a good thing that he goes off of. When we're simplifying fractions, this is a different thing. So when we're simplifying fractions, something Isaac said he did was if the numerator is half the denominator, he just knows that's 1/2 because 5 is half of 10. Really good. And we're talking about that next. This is how we simplify. Question, Zoe?
Another reason how I know not for normal fractions, not less over greater.
Yes.
I remember it because the denominator dominates the top, so it's always bigger than the
Yeah. I always think of for denominator, if you ever seen like professional wrestlers, they always have like a wrestler type name. And Haley had a basketball coach out here in Lakeway that was the Undertaker. Have you ever seen him around Lakeway? He's such a nice guy. But they always have these like crazy tough names. And I always tell kids to remember the denominator dominates, he always stays the same. So when we're adding and subtracting, you're going to leave him alone. You can't touch him. It's kind of big and scary. You just leave him there, okay? He was a nice guy, but he was ginormous. The other thing we're going to practice today together is simplifying. So when we simplify fractions, it's like we're taking the tiny pieces here and we're gluing them back together. So if I wanted to put those 2/8 back together and glue them back, could I make them into a 4th again if I super glue them together? Sure. So when we simplify, for example, let's say I've got 14/18, big wonky fraction. I'm going to look for a factor of both 14 and 18 that I can divide the numerator and the denominator both by. So I know I can divide 14 and 18 by what? 2, because they're even, right? So if I divide by 2 and divide by 2, I'm going to have what? 7/9, and it's simplified. In 4th grade, they let you use unsimplified fractions for your answer. But the rule from this day on is your fractions have to be simplified or they're wrong. And it really makes kids frustrated when they put this and they don't see that 3/9 can be simplified by dividing by what? 3. Divide by 3, divide by 3, and I have 1/3. Is this coming back to you guys? So we're going to practice